Hello and welcome to another edition of the How to Grow Your E-commerce Business podcast. I'm here with Chris Kasper, the Wisephone founder. Welcome to the podcast, Chris. Could you first, introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your business?
Sure. Yeah. I'm glad to be here. This is a great conversation. High level, I made this phone called Wisephone about 6 years ago. It's a healthy phone that doesn't have a lot of things that addict and distract you. And we've been selling, and we actually are just launching a new product in the UK called Sage Mobile, specifically for kids.
Okay. So would you say, you're you consider yourself a tech guy?
I am a non-technical founder who created a highly technical company, but at the highest level, I'm a brand guy. That's
okay.
Really
So you created a bit of tech, the anti-tech
yes.
in a way. Okay. So how did you get the idea for Wisephone?
Yeah. So I had this moment in life where I had foster daughters, 10 and 13-year-old girls. And this was, 6, 7 years ago. And there was nothing out there. They did some really high risk, terrible stuff with their devices. And so we kind of were in that conundrum that all parents are in, which is, what do I do about this? Am I a jerk to my kids and take away their phone? How do I handle the situation? And that really just caused this deep dive into, why is this a situation? Why is tech pitted against parents, et cetera, et cetera? And I just went deeper and deeper and deeper and just learned that, hey, our tech is broken. It's incentivized to destroy us and to claim our addiction, our attention. And so since then, I've been on this journey of constantly iterating, asking that question of what's healthy for us, and then not just asking it, not just talking about the harms, but actually building solutions to help mitigate them.
And so what would you say? Okay, let's start from basics. What do you think is healthy?
Yeah, so that is actually a really hard question to answer. High level, I think there's some principles. People are starting to resonate with all the stuff that our tech is doing to us, right? It's it's giving us addiction, distraction, anxiety. It's like removing our humanity. It's pushing us more into robotic transactional interactions. That's kind of the harmful side. And so healthy tech at its highest level actually connects us relationally with one another in meaningful ways, not digital ways. It pushes us into the real world. It doesn't addict us. It doesn't distract us. It doesn't hide incentives behind, hey, this is free, but it's not actually free. It's at the cost of our attention or our mental health. And so I'm on a journey, and I've been doing it for 5 years. I'm working on a book right now of answering that question. But it's multifaceted. And what is healthy tech is a great question. And right now, Wisephone is our best embodiment in the answer for that.
So, because I'm actually something I'm very interested in myself. So I'm actually, I think, an outlier amongst my friends that I've turned off all notifications, right? So I don't have WhatsApp notifications. I don't really use any social media. I do like WhatsApp a lot, because I think WhatsApp is the one thing of all of them that's made my life better and brought me closer with people. Facebook, my mood collapses as soon as I go on it. So, look at these people and their lovely holidays and stuff. And I think it's of almost no benefit. But I think you're right in that most people are happy to be distracted and will put the phone or whatever before anything else in their lives. You get the call and you take it. And I think it demands attention. And it's hard if you get pinged by something not to go onto it. And I think you see that with adults are almost as bad as kids, I'd say.
Yeah, actually. And I mean, I mentioned foster kids was the start of the journey. The truth is that 80% of our sales are to adults, actually, because they realize what's broken. They need this freedom that a life that's less connected or connected in the right ways provides. And so that was the start of the journey. But you're right. It's a global problem that affects almost everyone.
Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose you are selling to adults, aren't you?
Yes.
So, even if you're selling to kids, for kids, but you're selling. So tell me what the product does and how it, what phone's it on? I mean, how do you get it?
Yeah. So we have two products. One is Wisephone, and that is a healthy phone. We made the OS. It's like 2 colors, 2 fonts, very minimal in its appeal. But it has all the basic tools you need and a handful of carefully curated third-party apps. So you need a banking app, transportation, medical apps. We have those things allowed from third parties, but at the same time, there's levels of protection. No social media, no games, nothing explicit on the device that, so it's a very pared down, kind of in the minimal category or on the edge of minimal. I like to call it healthy. It's a separate category than a true minimalist device. So that's
Mm-hmm.
Wisephone. It's based on Android. We partner with Samsung. We're using Samsung hardware. The other product that we have, we're just launching in the UK right now, is called Sage, and it is actually an iPhone, and it is the very first ever safe iPhone, actually, that's healthy out of the box. It has unbeatable protections. You could try to factory reset, work around it. We are using tools that Apple created that they don't even have on their device
Mm-hmm.
on this iPhone. And it's conceptually very similar. Curated apps, a back-end portal where you can control what goes on it and not, but different hardware platforms.
So if I've got a kid, right, and would I need obviously maybe it's that I'm just not progressive, and therefore I'm quite happy with my old phone, but I want my kid to have one of these things. How would I control their experience if I don't have one of these phones as well?
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. We have a hub, sagemobile.com, log in, and it's your family hub, and you can turn things on and off remotely. One of the greatest services that we found is that people actually just get intimidated by all the buttons. We interviewed UK parents, and 99% of them do not do anything, even with Apple's restrictions, because it's just like you get in the restriction section, you're like, what do I turn on and off? And it's just like, ugh. The
It's really
analysis.
I completely agree with you, because I have two teenage daughters,
Yeah.
right, and I pretty much gave up any restrictions, because the only restriction I had was that the phone used to go off at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because that was easy to set, because they want to do things. If you've got, like in my case, you've got I've got like a Microsoft PC, and I've got Apple phones, and I use Chrome on those Apple phones because they prefer Chrome, and it's almost impossible to set anything up under those circumstances.
Yep.
And also something like Chrome is an 18 plus app on Apple, right? So you put on a restriction, they won't let you use Chrome. And the kid's like, well, I need to use Chrome. And I'm like, well, how do you do it? So do you have a web browser at all on your phone?
So on Wisephone, no browsers. We have alternatives. Like, for example, we have a very lightweight AI chat agent. When I say lightweight, I'm talking it kicks back a sentence or two. And that helps unlock a whole world of information like, hey, how do I get to my kid's ballet lesson? Or what's the phone number for this thing? But you're not spending your life looking at this device. So no browsers right now. In the future, we're selling trust at the end of the day. And so workarounds, loopholes, that erodes our brand instantly. And we do not permit that. In the future, the iPhone option, we might have a browser that could be kid safe, but it's going to be off by default. And if a parent wants to turn it on, we're going to caution against it and recommend don't do this. And so it's like you have the freedom to do it, but we're going to kind of hit you upside the head a little bit as you turn it on.
So what's your feedback? Okay. So, but what's your feedback from adults that use it? And what's your feedback from kids?
Yeah. So kids, high level, it's safe. They are happy to have it because it's hardware that looks like a normal phone. It's not a flip phone, right? So they don't hold they don't hold their head in shame or like they're embarrassed about it. And we did that very specifically. We innovated in the space in using our Samsung hardware and iPhone. One of the reasons we're going with the iPhone platform is specifically for kids' dignity. So they're a little bit disappointed. Like, if your kid wants soda and you give them lemonade, it's like, okay, thanks for the lemonade, mom and dad. That's sort of where we're at. But some kids love it. I got a call from a 14-year-old kid the other day who was just like over the moon. And I had a 16-year-old invest $50,000 in our company because they love the device. And I'm
That's a rich 15-year-old.
I know. I was like, how much of this did you earn? Was my question. So there's
probably not allowed. They're probably not allowed in the UK. They wouldn't be allowed to do that,
Yeah, I think there was some.
Anyway,
his parents are high net worth individuals. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
So anyways, kids, there's a little bit of tension there, but for the most part, they're content, they're happy, and they actually deep down really appreciate their parents taking this courageous step, I guess, for them. And they see all of them are keenly aware of their cohort, the other kids their age, and they just see their eyes melting out of their heads and their brains just, I mean, they know more than we do how much this stuff is destroying them. And so they're grateful in the moment. And I promise you 10 years from now, they're going to be like, you saved me from a time bomb is the response. They yearn for that type of love. And so that's the kids' response. The adults, we just conducted a 50 user interviews with Wisephone users specifically.
Mhm.
And overarchingly, the two words that came to the top were peace and freedom that people feel
Right.
when using this device. And it was very,
Who
very transformative.
who do you think is the biggest of all the tech companies, right? Who do you think's the worst?
Oh,
Don't tell me that. If you don't want to piss anyone off, don't tell
well,
me.
here's the deal.
Who would you say?
I'm partnering with these guys and I'm challenging them to redeem their exploitative practices. So, like, I don't want to badmouth them specifically
Okay,
because I'm
fine,
like,
that's fine. I'll give you that.
well, here's the deal. Like, some of
What
them
about
do great.
Facebook?
I'll say Apple is one of the better ones. Can I
Yeah,
say?
no, I agree with you there. What about Facebook or Google or
Yeah. So there's this continuum. The more people exploit attention and in lieu for profit, the harder it is for me to get behind them. So yeah, the social media platforms, the more addictive ones are on the more evil continuum. So like short form video content, TikTok is like one of the worst. And I've like reverse engineered some of the algorithms and some of the stuff they do is so sneaky. I like hypothetically, here's an example. I made 3 different TikTok accounts, and to test what type of content gets fed to each of these people. One was a Chinese kid, and I was VPNing into China,
yeah,
and this kid was getting like accomplishments and character building things and mentorship and all this type of like stuff that makes you a better person, right? And then I did a 18-year-old kid in the States, and he was getting a boy, and he was getting all these girls dancing and brainless rot and mind wash. And like, I just know for a fact that China is moving the levers to erode the very character of the people in the United States. Like, that's what they're
right.
doing with the algorithm versus in China, they're like trying to feed in good character and instill values. Like, that's dark stuff if you really think about
Yeah.
it. So
I might send you a link to it later. There was basically a feminist in the UK, a feminist campaigner, and she said on TikTok, if you set up TikTok as a boy on TikTok, a 50-year-old boy, you will start being fed misogynistic content after 15 minutes.
yeah, and girls in bikinis, and you can't turn it off. Like, legitimately, you try to cut it off, and they just feed to the sexual nature of the hardwired brain, and that's the kind of stuff that I don't have tolerance for.
Yeah. So anyway, tell me about how did you how did you launch the product?
Yeah,
What was your
so
launch plan?
kind of I'd say a slightly more slower, stable test the waters. This was I had 20 different business ideas, right? And like, this was the highest risk idea. It was like, you put money in and it's either going to be worth something or zero. Like, there was no middle ground. Real estate, you could sell it for half of what you bought it for, even if you made the stupidest decisions. So I kind of took tiers of risk and market validation. So, hey, let's do $50,000 and see if we got enough traction to validate going and seeking investment to the $500,000 mark. And after $500,000, like, we set certain hurdles. And if we cross that hurdle, accomplish these specific things, then we earn the right to ask for more and go into the next level. And so kind of 3 critical moments where it was like, if we can do this, then we earn the right to keep going. We earn the right to sink more into this. And we've done that in tiers.
Okay. So how did you kind of reach to, what were your kind of routes to market?
So explain.
What I mean is, how did you sell the product? Did you promote it via social media? Did you word of mouth? Did you do like Amazon? What was your?
Yeah. So early on, this was probably a tactical mistake. I spent 2 years in R&D. Shouldn't have done that. Should have come out with a MVP sooner and started selling it.
Right.
But when we first started selling, the product itself was really good. So I traveled to events and I did podcasts. And that was it. And 80% of our sales were organic. We had no paid social media, nothing at all. It was just moms telling moms who told moms, and it spiraled that way. I mean, I did one podcast early on. We sold 2,000 phones. We're talking like, $400 devices. This isn't a quick, $20 purchase that people.
Right. Okay.
And so there was some power in the product early on that really fed the organic growth. And that was our early strategy because I didn't have cash to dump into ad spend to start with.
Okay. Well, I think that's good. I mean, I think, if you've got proof that people want the product.
Yeah.
So it's a real so most of your sales have been through word of mouth. Did you use Kickstarter at all?
I tried and I flopped it. Back to the like, hey, digital, we're doing good now from a digital perspective, but like we didn't crack the code. There's definitely a game to play, and we weren't playing the game properly for Kickstarter. So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about Kickstarter. I mean, how did you win? Because it's a new product, and people don't buy that many phones. So how did you win consumer trust, and how have you kept it?
yeah. So my background really is not technology, it's brand. And I specifically worked in brands that were extremely high trust industries, precious metals, truck accessories for like truck protection grill guards. I worked in banking and finance, and these situations, if you mess up, like you're toast, like your company just might as well not exist. And so in the midst of that, and I worked with a 125-year-old company, also just high trust, high stakes industries. And so that's why it took 2 years to build the product. I took a much more slow growth approach, iterating, so I could have sold more phones faster and better, and it would have been a terrible customer experience. And I worked my way up, taking, intentionally choosing early adopters that have more grace and could be more raving fans, and working my way up to the mainstream market, if that makes sense. And iterating on the product. I mean, by the time we were on Gen 6 or 7 of product currently right now from a tech stack perspective, and each one is increasingly better. And I increasingly reach more of the available market. So sort of strategy, meet the people with grace first and then grow.
Okay, so yeah, you're obviously in a very competitive market, right? I mean, I've got an iPhone, which is quite an expensive phone,
Yeah.
but I pay my subscription. Well, I've got a SIM3 contract, and it costs me £6 a month, so like $10, right? And I think your product's a bit more expensive than that. So how do you compete against these, the big players in the market?
Yeah, so we actually are just a brand new category. So yes, we are competing, but we're actually not in many levels. Like when we first sold, we were ultra premium, and we have intentionally started out high and lowered prices as we can in order to just have a sustainable company. And my hope is to get to the point where we're doing the £10 a month option for people. This is mission driven. It's about how many people can we have under the fold. But for us, it's just the value prop of the product. What we had was so different, was so unique, was just not available at all. The value is there. I mean, if you start looking at it from just okay, say for example, you prevent some terrible situation with your kid, which we have prevented over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What's the cost of counseling? What's the cost of years of relational turmoil and toil, and preventing one predator situation, bullying stuff? We are dealing with the very essence of who we are as humans and people's souls, and genuinely transforming lives. And that is a price that people are willing to pay. I mean, you pay how much for a gym membership every month? That's for your physical body. This is for your mental body.
Yeah.
So there's.
So your product, so you get the phone. Is it you get a SIM like a phone contract with it? You get the phone and the software and the SIM contract. Is that all in one kind of thing?
Yeah. So we started out just. At our heart, we're a software company. That's the only true value we bring to the table, is the software, the configuration, the thinking behind it, the safety that provides. We do offer cellular plans as a hey, if you want to use our cell plan, go for it. We break even on those. It's just an additional service. So yeah, you can buy the phone, the software, and sell if you want to altogether. But at the heart of it, it's just the protection that we provide.
So you worried that someone like Apple or Samsung will bring out their own minimalist thing, click a button, minimalist kid version?
Yeah, they could. I think it's very telling that Apple has given us the keys to the kingdom. Five years ago, one of our first advisors was a guy named Josh Banco. He's the man that led the team to create iPad, Gen 1 iPad. And I said, hey, can we do this on an iPhone? Everything we had with Wisephone. And he said, no, that's impossible. They'll never work with you. It was a laugh. That laugh echoed in my mind for 5 years. And Apple just gave us unprecedented access. I mean, we have inter-app hooks, just so much stuff. And the reason why, I think, is because there's some brand promises that we're providing that they can't. We're saying some things that could be contentious, where there's some embedded assumptions within it. So Yes, they could copy it. Yes, Apple and Google have both taken little tiny dials and tweaks behind the scenes in the settings that are things we've done that I think we might have a little bit of credit in inspiring them to do those things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have a very strong brand promise that they can never adopt, actually.
It's probably also not really particularly in their interest, is it, to do it?
Yeah,
They want.
the moment they say, oh, we have this healthy version, then what are they saying about all their other products? All of our other stuff is not good for you. So it's just this kind of conundrum that they're in. They can't switch out of the freemium models of the attention economy products that they've built. Apple would love to switch to subscription service for their devices instead of hardware that you buy every 4. How old is your phone?
Well, it's like 4 years ago. So yeah,
exactly. They don't want you to have a phone for 4 years. So they would love to change their business model, but they're just entrenched. They're stuck in the way that they're operating currently. So
I think that. I think it's Facebook that I don't like the most. I'm quite a big fan of Apple. I think that Apple products are really good. I mean, but they've got their, it's just the things that people get up to on Facebook, and we wouldn't let it happen anywhere else. We wouldn't. If you had a device and we know that it's causing harm to kids' health, etc., and we wouldn't let that. If it was a drug or if it was a food or something like that, we wouldn't let it happen.
100%.
And we let it happen on, it's like all this AI thing at the moment. They're saying, well, look, the chance, just taking off all the controls and just saying, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the harm that's happening. And you wouldn't do that for a drug.
Yeah. No. And I'm right in the middle. Like I was in a room last week in Colorado or 2 weeks ago with a group that is looking to end Section 230, and that it gives these social media companies immunity from the harms financially in the United States. That one law, if some kid does something terrible because of a policy decision Meta made or Facebook made, they're like, okay, whatever, we're not the platform, we're not accountable. And so the moment that changes, all of a sudden, just like drugs.
But they make money on the ads. They make money on the ads of these to happen. And I've seen some things in the UK, and there's a guy in the UK, a very famous broadcaster who's all about saving money, or he's like a finance guy. And there was an ad on Facebook which was using his face to advertise as cryptocurrency scam. And I couldn't believe it when I saw this. I cannot believe that this ad is being run, and it's been all over the news and stuff like that. And but they've made money on these ads. I mean, if they got fined $1 million every time that happened, they'd quickly find a way of fixing it.
Exactly. So that's why you change the incentive structure, and all of a sudden the behavior changes. So right now they're off the hook, but the moment you say, "Oh, you're liable," just the same way all the other companies are. You mentioned food, and I mean,
yeah.
If a bar serves a 10-year-old kid a beer and he goes and gets in a wreck, the bar's in trouble.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. But go away, small child.
Yeah.
But you can. It's very hard for parents on Apple devices, which are generally quite easy to fix, to set these things in some reasonable way.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what's your advice for founders? Because you've got this company you've been having it for 5 years. What do you wish someone had told you?
Get to market as soon as possible. I made a mistake. The product was great, but 2 years of research and development was not the wisest way to build something. So get to, start sooner, even if it's 30 people, just start selling something sooner, get feedback, iterate on it instead
that's the whole MVP model, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do wonder with MVPs though a bit. I mean, I think obviously a MVP as much as you can, but I do think a lot of these things which were successful, I think the person who did it just was lucky. They had a good idea and it worked, because I think, it would have been different. The MVP book, I don't know if you've read it, but he's like, deliver something, doesn't matter how bad it is, but you've only really got one chance to get people's interest. So I think whatever you do has to be really good, even if it's just a small bit of it. What's the second best thing that you wish someone had told you?
That the fundamentals of finance matter in how your company can thrive or not. Like, you can have a vision, you can have aspirations, you can have a mission, but at the end of the day, like, if you run out of cash, you're in trouble. or if you don't have enough cash to support the staff that's necessary as a basic company, then it's a challenge. Like I've just spent years wearing so many hats. You wear 7 hats for 6 years and it starts giving you gray hair. And that finance is actually the key to unlocking that. So like having a very clear projections, financial plan, cash flow, all those fundamentals actually massively affect your ability to succeed as a company.
Yeah, I agree, because I had a company that didn't make enough money.
Yeah.
And I think as it goes on, you as the founder have to do more and more, and you get fed up with it. You don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
If you don't make enough money to enable you to afford the team to support you, then you totally burn out.
Yeah, you earn the right to dream. You earn the right to be visionary and aspirational, and you do that by getting the fundamentals right. You can't even think that way until you get the basics.
So, okay. So do you practice what you preach?
In what way?
Do you have a Wisephone?
So I had a Wisephone for 4 years, and right now I have a Sage phone. So I'm dog fooding. That's the phrase in the industry when you
dog fooding. What does that mean? Eating
it means you eat the stuff that you make. Like that would be very hypocritical for someone not to dog food. For a tech company, to not use the product that they have, that's hypocritical. So yeah, I'm using I'm using a Sage phone right now.
Excellent. So I've got one last question for you. What has inspired you recently? You've got any good books we should read? Or
man, my recent journey, I've just been really thinking about the word wisdom and like what is wisdom. And I've been actually going back. I have this philosophy that I always like being inspired by people that are older than 100 years because it just breaks the mold. So you could go and look at Elon Musk or who, whatever the visionaries are in the world today and be inspired by them. I want to be inspired by older ones. So I've been really honing in on Solomon, actually, who is one of the wisest business leaders in the entire world ever. He built this massive empire worth billions and trillions. I mean, he was like the wealthiest, smartest, wisest dude in the world. And I've just been studying him through
Wisdom of Solomon. Isn't that a thing, the wisdom of Solomon?
Yeah. And it's not so religious. It's actually just practical business life. And he started out, he wrote 3 books. He wrote one about love. And then he wrote one about just practical knowledge and wisdom. And then the last book was about his just cynicism towards the world.
So this is Old Testament, yeah?
Yeah, this is Old Testament. We're talking Song of Solomon and Proverbs and then Ecclesiastes. And he ended his life on a cynical note. I'm like, how do I be a great business leader and not be cynical and not grieve the relationships I have? Just pondering the epic things.
I started reading the Old Testament. I got to Leviticus and I couldn't get.
Yeah, that's a chewy one.
Yeah, that's a chewy one. I think that's a pretty turgid. I maybe there's other bits of it which are interesting, but I got to Leviticus. Yeah, and do you know what? I listened to the New Testament as read by Johnny Cash, which I have to say, one of the best things I ever did.
That's awesome.
Well, and Jesus said to the multitudes, that was great.
I have to try that. No, I've been soaking in Proverbs, honestly, and that's been the biggest. I mean, because every single sentence is something like, okay, legitimately, like the thing I was just talking to you about cash is like tied to Proverbs. He was saying when there is wisdom, there's an abundance of hope. I'm like, okay, wisdom, hope, aka good business practices creates hope for the company. Like we just breathe easier and we're not so fearful in our eyes when we actually have cash, which is just good business. So it's just like I'm pondering this all the time.
So I don't know if have you read The Prince by Machiavelli?
I haven't. I have to though.
Get it. It's amazing. But I saw his tomb the other week. So he says, I mean, Machiavelli is famous for his kind of realpolitik kind of thing. But one of the things that I remember, he says that, as a prince, you have a choice to be, you can be generous, right? Or you can be miserly. Now, if you're generous, you're going to run out of cash effectively, and then you're going to have to end up being miserly, right? So you might as well start off by being miserly. And I think that when I was reading this book by, do you know the guy that set up Zappos? I can't remember his name. And he was going on about how he, they gave everyone in their business like a 10% bonus, and then the VCs came along and told them to sack 10% of their business. And I thought, well, that worked well, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think that, you can be generous, but, the same, you just need to be careful with your money. Anyway.
That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about that I've reflected back on the last 5 years because I have so much hope and aspiration and what I want to do and mission in the company. And at the end of the day, like all of that is tethered to How are you doing?
Yes, it's true. You do need to do that, I think. Chris, look, it's been fascinating talking to you. And where can people find you online?
So if you go to wisephone.com, we're selling in the States. Wisephone is available. And then in the UK, sagemobile.com is the place where you can grab the iPhone. And we're in pre-order phase right now. We're working on final touches before we sell it. But those are the two places, Wisephone and Sage Mobile.
Okay, super duper. Chris, lovely to speak to you and good luck for the future.
Great conversation. Thank you so much, Trevor.
Bye.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.